In a way, this show almost feels too good to be true because we're now officially 4 episodes into Shangri-La Frontier, and the more I watch, the more I'm just baffled by how refined it is. It's almost like waiting for something to crash, like the bull's gonna come into the china shop and just run amok, because not only just for a pure visual or production level of how consistent this show is more to do with just how good they are at exploring not only the video game mechanic side, but how much I genuinely enjoy following Sunraku as a character, and clearly they're setting the stage for a party to sort of be formed, or at the very least, some friends within the game. I mean, his IRL girl is not really doing too well at finding him, and honestly, a part of me just kind of loves the idea that what if, like, we know it's his character name, but just the idea that her entire way of trying to track Sunraku is by looking for the name he uses in every game. Could you imagine if, like, she was just going after someone who took his name before he got into the game and just was following a fool's chase this whole time? She'd be absolutely heartbroken. But it's the way they can so casually go into a bad video game and watch him play a game that actually has me saying, you know what? This isn't just some dude with bad taste. I can understand why you'd want to play something that is broken like that, because the idea of any glitch goes is actually a pretty fun thing, and you end up in a One Piece situation where Luffy versus Luffy is occurring, and who wouldn't want to play that? This was a really good episode. It was a setup for next week as we are going up against a fun little boss fight. But overall, I hope it doesn't happen, but man, this show does almost feel too good to be true, and I'm just waiting for something to crash and burn, but so far, we are 4 for 4, and I am loving this one. Definitely one of my favorites of this season. But full live reaction over on my Patreon if you would like to see that. It's over there if you're interested. Now, there's actually quite a bit that happened for what is all considered a setup episode. I mean, we get to learn a bit more about what's going on with the bunnies, because it definitely felt like something was happening that was unique for him. Now, this whole idea that if you go defeat a boss, or you fight a boss, or lose to a boss, then the bunnies kind of bring you in and it's like a little training arc, and basically that would normally happen. Now, what we see on the screen is like a snake. He fought a unique beast, right? Like, this is something that was a very unique scenario for him, so in return, it became something that honestly no one's talked about. So for all we know, he is the first person, unless there's been other people who's attempted similar things and just never posted about it online. Highly unlikely. So he has some secrets that he's keeping close to his chest because he doesn't want to expose it. So when he gets into a situation where it's basically Ash Ketchum and Pikachu, and the girls are like, well, this dude seems like a very big creep, but goddamn, that bunny's cute. They're snapping pictures as he's running away, not wanting to give information, and we can tell that this is such an interesting world because not only do we have NPCs that talk and act like a human, hell, even when they join your party, they're not just a tag-along object, you have to add them to your party. This whole world is so interesting because when you talk with characters, yes, the dialogue will be unique based on how the missions have been going or how your character's been evolving, but at the same time, there's just such a living and breathing aspect to this, and the idea that we don't just brush aside little moments. So last episode, he gets cursed, right? Or with the fight, he gets cursed. He has all these marks, and one of the things is that anything that is lower level from him will run for the hills. And most people I saw talk about that, like, oh, he's screwed. Like, he's only going to be able to go up against things that are stronger than him, and eventually that's going to make him hit a wall. This episode, we see, no. If you were playing a VR MMORPG, and it was as realistic as they're saying it is, you should be able to come up with solutions, and as we saw with that sheep thing, it ran for the hills, he stopped it in its track by throwing a weapon, and with speed and momentum, forced it when it was basically like shook trying to redirect itself, and there is a way, and as he says, as long as something's as fast or slower as this creature, I can grind out levels, and it's really cool what he did. Now granted, he did immediately go from saying, well, that's nice, let's go fight a boss. At the same time, there is a grinding mechanic there if he wants to go that route. They also give him another thing where from the big honcho, he gives him a collar, and honestly, his character design's looking whack right now. He's half naked, he's got scars on his body, he's got now a slave collar on. Honestly, Sunraku's not doing too well, but at the same time, you know, it doesn't seem to be hindering him all too much either, and this training arc does seem like it's going to benefit him more than anything. But I like it because just a simple episode of watching him go from location to location, just exploring and doing research, and then taking a little bit of a break, going back to a game he used to play. They say like less than 100 people log in a day or something like that, but there's like this cult following, and at first I wasn't really seeing why there would even be 100 plays, like there's so many games to play. But immediately as I started seeing the glitches happen, I was like, you know what? Absolutely. Would I get addicted to something like this? No. But yeah, I'd probably try playing it. I mean, like it's just so ridiculous. And the idea that they're clearly not patching bugs and glitches because, I mean, who the hell are you patching them for? And honestly, the only reason people are playing right now is because of those. So yeah, leave them in. And just the way they can go about it. And the fact that they let him lose is another thing that's really nice, because yes, he obviously lost to the big unique beast that was one-shotting everything. But the idea of losing against a player, you know, you might be able to say, well, wait a second, we thought he was really skilled. But as he says, he's been fighting NPCs. It's a very different playstyle than going up against a player who plays this game probably daily. And in doing so, we get to have him just kind of be like, you know what, I need that. I need a bit of a recharge, a debrief, just do something a little different. And in return, we get introduced to two characters who probably are going to be playing that game with him. One for sure. The girl is still a little up in the air, but the game she was playing looked pretty cool as well. I'm not sure if it was the same one or not, but either way, you know, it's just, I love it. I mean, we can go into a shooter, we can go into a fantasy, we could go into a board game for all we know. Like, he's clearly going to play different video games off and on, but the main thing that has him addicted, and as he says, until he beats that giant mutt, he's going to be addicted to that. And once he does beat that giant mutt, I'm sure he's going to be like, well, wait a second, the second beast, maybe I'll stop playing after I beat the second beast. And it's just going to be a spiral. He's addicted to it, but you understand why. But the brilliant thing is they also get us to understand why sometimes he plays those shitty video games, because even those have a mechanic that you make you say, wait a second, that's actually pretty interesting. I'm truly rooting for this show to continue this level of quality and hype all the way throughout both of the cores that we're getting here between this season and next season. But ultimately, you know, it's just one of those things that I would think if this was potentially going to struggle, we would have started seeing warning signs, cracks in the glass around this point, or at the very least last episode. But we're a month into this and it is going strong. Like, honestly, if you showed this anime to anyone with any familiarity with anime studios, I would not be shocked in the slightest if people were like, oh, is this a Sword Art Online studio that's making this? Because honestly, like, some of the animation styles, the way like it kind of gets you immersed, like it's very similar with that type of style. And the fact that this studio that I was like, man, you know, yeah, it kind of looks interesting, but man, this honestly probably the studio that's one of the studios that has most impressed me this year for anime. And this is just 4 episodes in. Things could change, opinions could differ eventually, but as it stands, every episode, every week, one of my most anticipated, like one of my top 3 most anticipated shows every single week. And I expected it might be fun. I never expected it to be amazing, and that's honestly how I'd rank it so far. But let me know what you thought of Shangri-La Frontier Episode 4, and what do you want to see with that boss fight next week? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more videos to the channel. Like I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction over on my Patreon if you're interested. And hey, while you're there, you also get a video shout out like Danny0119, Ronga Rage, and Joshua Kingsley are getting today, so I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.